If you'd like to advertise on this program or any other White Rock Media production, contact the White Rock Media team at 905-990-2782. That's 905-990-2782.
Passion is everything when it comes to hair, so trust your hair to an artist. Jason Kearns of Kearns & Co. is known across North America for making the hottest high-fashion looks work for real people. Jason and his team of expert stylists bring together creativity, vision, and the very latest hair care systems, color, and products to create looks that have heads turning. Your hair is the most important fashion accessory you will ever own. Trust it to the experts. Start today. Visit kearnsandco.co.
When you look for a trial lawyer, what are you really looking for?
Determined, passionate, strong.
Well-respected, Marcy Siegel has had a successful criminal law practice for over 20 years and now includes family and civil law services for you, her clients, bringing dedication, skill, and integrity to your corner. She's a strong advocate, tenacious, and has a track record to back it up. Looking for an exceptional litigator to fight for you? Click to marcysiegel.com and get the help you need for criminal, family, and civil matters. marcysiegel.com.
Welcome back to Biz Radio Canada on Connect Me Radio. My guest is Dr. Tracey Wilen, and we are talking about her latest book, Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends, and in particular, 10 Workplace Trends. Dr. Wilen, from an employer's perspective, what are the workplace trends that the employer needs to pay attention to in order for them to attract, engage, and retain the great talent for as long as they possibly can?
Well, and it's a good question, David, because I think the workplace has absolutely changed. So the first thing I would look for in an employee is, someone who contributes. Let's face it, the world is very competitive. Succession planning is starting at a much younger age. Mm-hmm. And I think when you bring in new employees, you want them to be more entrepreneurial, and you want to help them secure leadership positions sooner rather than waiting until they're 40, 50, or 60. So I think that's number one. Are
you suggesting that it's not good enough to just show up anymore, that you actually have to bring something to the party now?
Yes, and I think a loyal worker is something that many of us have been groomed to be, mm-hmm. and we have been paid well in benefits for being a loyal worker, but it's more today. And it's really because the world is much more competitive. So we need all hands on deck, working managers, people who are putting on that CEO hat in their job and being able to help the company move ahead.
How do you manage a workplace that has a lot of leaders? There has to be some followers along the way somewhere. If everybody's got the CEO hat on and everybody wants to be in charge, how do you manage that?
Right. And it's actually today not about individual contribution anymore. It's about teams. So leadership has even evolved to becoming someone who can lead other leaders and be able to work on teams, whether as a team player or a team leader or a team contributor. And I think that's one of the soft skills that many companies are looking for today, much more so than in the past, is because, you can't create products anymore individually. You can't create ideas individually. You really need a team where everyone has a role, a communication plan, and is organized and moving in a direction.
You mentioned earlier that the millennials are staying in a job for just over 2 years, and young adults, I imagine that's the Gen Ys, are staying for just over 4 years. I understand from some millennials or some HR professionals that they're saying the reason that they're moving, the reason that millennials don't stay, is because they're not being challenged and they're not being given enough opportunities. Do you agree with that statement, or do you have your own perspective?
Well, that is true, and that is one of the reasons why millennials will move. I think that connects to that they don't feel that they're being appreciated or they're being looked over because of their age. And I think second is that millennials, more so than other generations, want to find meaning in their jobs. They have grown up and watched their parents be bored or put up with a bad boss or just not be in the right career, and they don't want to have that same experience. So they will continue to explore until they find something that fits well for them. So I think there's a number of factors there.
In your opinion, what's a key thing that will help attract that millennial worker, or for the matter, a Gen Y, a Gen X? They're still in the workplace along with the boomers, but the ones that they're looking to attract now in that race for talent are the millennials and the generation that follows that. What do companies need to do to attract that great talent?
Yes, and I agree. And I think it's all people want to be able to feel like they have some sort of input and control in their job and in their direction, and that their contributions are being appreciated. So as an executive, I would encourage people to help employees find lateral moves. Let them move around the firm and try different opportunities so they can build their skill sets. Introduce them to special projects and high visibility projects that may be different than what they're doing day to day. So if they're in marketing and there's a technology project, encourage them to join it. I think culture is becoming increasingly important. People want to work for a firm that they can identify with. And we went through a period where financial firms, for example, were having a tough time attracting people because of the culture and the viewpoint that they were, not positive firms to work for. So I think companies need to create cultures and environments that really sync up with the value system of employees, whether it's giving back or community outreach or contributions, from their sales to various charities and needed organizations. So I think there's a number of factors today different than in the past that we can really use to attract employees.
How do we deal with this in the small to medium-sized business? I know the stats are very similar on both sides of the border. 80, 85%, 90% of businesses are small to medium-sized businesses. They don't have those opportunities built into their structure in order to give those young people lateral movements, upward movements, those big projects to work on. What advice do you have for them? What can they do to still play well in that talent pool?
Actually, I encourage young people to make stops in startup firms and also small to medium-sized firms. And the reason is I think the leadership opportunities are more plentiful than in a large firm. And number two is you get the chance to wear many, many hats all at the same time. So you actually don't have to create that lateral move that you might need in a large firm because you're in the firing line every single day. And if you can respond and lead in that kind of environment, then you'll be developing yourself as a leader. So I think it's really mixing large, small, and startup experiences will help, develop a person to be tomorrow's leader.
So someone that's working in a small firm, they actually get to really experience that entrepreneurial hat or entrepreneurial number of hats that you get to wear on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely, and that's where the growth is. I mean, the leadership growth is not in the large firms. I mean, there's, you have to wait for people to retire. They may be going through transitions and laying off. It's the young firms and the small firms that are, in high growth areas where you could actually join and move up your levels fairly quickly compared to a large firm. So I would not look at some of these small, medium-sized firms because I think there's a lot more opportunity for people there.
We are talking with Dr. Tracey Wilen, the author of 11 books, including her newest book, Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends. You're listening to Biz Radio Canada on Connect Me Radio, and we will return with Dr. Wilen right after a few words from our sponsors.
If you'd like to advertise on this program or any other White Rock Media production, contact the White Rock Media team at 905-990-2782. That's 905-990-2782. If you'd like to advertise on this program or any other White Rock Media production, contact the White Rock Media team at 905-990-2782. That's 905-990-2782.
When it comes to career choices for women, the construction industry is brimming with career opportunities in a variety of trade, technical, and professional fields across all sectors of the industry. The Canadian Association of Women in Construction is working to make the future even brighter for women in construction. You can be a part of KWIC's Women's Advancement Project, keeping KWIC on top of our industry needs. Visit kwic.ca and help build your future.
Canadian women. Smart, driven, dynamic. We have all the tools to build successful lives for ourselves and our families. But where do we begin? TD Wealth Management Specialists can help you define your vision and goals and ultimately begin the process of achieving those goals. Get started on writing the story of your financial future. You have the tools. Let TD lend the guidance. It's your story, your future. Start today. Visit tdwaterhouse.ca and listen Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Canada Talks.
Spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, multiple sclerosis, cerebral palsy, stroke. The diagnosis is devastating, but it's not the end of the road. Are you ready to take your next step? With advanced robotics and technology, integrated hands-on therapy, unique exercise programs, and compassionate, motivating, specially trained therapists, your goals are within reach. Progress is possible. Find out how. Book a tour online. Visit aimtowalk.ca.
It's time to share your message, your next big idea, your products, or your services on the internet. Vincify.com offers professional websites that work on all smart devices and include free domain name, web hosting, emails, and an easy-to-use interface to create your perfect website. Check us out on whatshesaid.radio.com or visit Vincify.com. That's Vincify.com and sign up for a free trial today.
Welcome back to Biz Radio Canada on Connect Me Radio. My guest is Dr. Tracey Wilen, the author of 11 books, including her latest, Employed for Life 21st Century Career Trends. We're talking about those career trends and what employers can do from their perspective to attract, engage, and retain great talent. So that's an interesting perspective that you had just before the break, Dr. Wilen, that you're encouraging young people to go and work at those smaller companies because they really get to express their entrepreneurial trends. How are the businesses accepting young people into the mix? Because when young people come into the mix or come into those small businesses, generally they don't have a lot of workplace experience, and smaller businesses are notorious for not having great training. So how can the two coexist?
Yes, and you're bringing up a good point. And I would say a lot of the startups, it's all hands on deck, and if you're smart, you will figure it out. And people, interesting enough, do rise to that leadership opportunity. More interesting, I hear about more firms trying to think through externships, and this is quite interesting, actually. How can I rotate high-quality, leadership track young people, maybe for a stint in a large firm, and then rotate them out to a client or customer who might be a small firm so that that employee can get that 360 visibility of the business. And I think that you're finding that companies are looking for these types of really talent management strategies on how can I help a young person develop the skills and experience that they need while still being their, enthusiastic and innovative. So an externship is something that firms are talking about, as well as internships. Can I rotate someone around in the firm in multiple short stops, so some people call it tours of duty, so that they can pick up different experiences. So it is a challenge, but I think you'll hear more often than not, particularly in some of these younger firms, that if you have a good thought process, you have good leadership skills and communication, development processes, that you'll be able to start to pick up experiences and thrive.
So it's really the cream is going to have to rise to the top, and it's survival of the fittest in that entrepreneurial pond.
Yes, and I think that does go back to one of the points we had talked about earlier, is this entrepreneurial employee. Take control of your career versus the company is going to take control of your career and give you guidance. And if you can help your employees really embrace that, like what are you going to do? What are the stops you want to make? What are some of the experiences? And they don't always have to happen inside the firm. I know a number of adults and younger people who join organizations to really expand their experiences, whether it's a board or whether it's the PTA for their kids' school or volunteering for an organization to pick up external skills. All of these skills count. It doesn't matter if they're in the firm or outside the firm. It's really, your ability to pick up some of these leadership skills, P&L skills, operation skills.
Are you seeing that the employers are embracing this as well? I'm thinking that you've got some people that have been in business for a while, and they're saying, I've got this young whippersnapper coming in here telling me how to run my business. They think they know everything, and they know nothing. So how is this entrepreneurial employee being embraced by that small business owner?
Yes, and I think that is a good point. It varies. It absolutely varies, and I think when you talk to people, this is why I think companies should survey their employees on a regular basis to take a pulse of what's happening in their firm. People say to me, they're leaving because they're not getting challenged or respected. Well, that's probably a firm that isn't paying attention to or respecting the contributions of all the generations in their workforce, and so they will lose talent. And right now, I don't think companies can afford to lose, excellent talent. So I would say it varies by company. Companies who have high demand or high aspirations for leadership and skilled workers will find ways to help them achieve their goals.
We've talked about attracting great talent and engaging the great talent. What's your best piece of advice for those employers that need to focus on retaining that great talent?
Yes, I think that the employers need to think about creating environments for their employees from day one. Many employers have very structured leadership programs that start after employees have figured out the system and managed to get to a senior manager or director role. We don't have time for that anymore. As an employer, we need to, from the day of orientation, set the stage for employees who want to move ahead, want to gain experience and leadership opportunities, that can happen in the firm. And we can do that by creating environments where they can have more meaningful roles, contributions, and projects to get there.
Excellent. Dr. Wilen, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, David.
My guest has been Dr. Tracey Wilen, the author of Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends. We've been talking about career trends in the workplace from an employer's perspective.